and they had little places hewed off where they slept on the sides there. And then they had one place where they kept all their food and everything. It was quite interesting.
Could you walk through their tunnels?
Oh, yeah.
They were big enough to walk?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they weren't very tall necessarily, but they were quite the tunnels they had. They had that island well fortified, and that's where, when our men started invading the island, they just would get on shore, and they wouldn't open up on you until you got everything in, and then they'd just open up on it. And they had mortars, big mortars, that some of them they would have them on tracks, and they had doors that would open up. They would, well, you know how a mortar, you line up everything and get it ready to fire, and they'd open it up and push the mortar out, fire it, pull it back in, and shut the doors again. And they would hit supplies that you would pile on shore.
Well, did they ever fire at your air base that you know of?
Never did that I know of, because we got them pretty well taken care of. Now Mount Suribachi, I was surprised. I never ever cared to even go up on it, I guess, because I never did. I don't know whether I probably would have been allowed to go on up there. But it's not a terribly high mountain. It's a volcano. But the whole island is covered with is a sulfur island, and there's cracks in the ground, and there's steam coming up out of those. And the guys with riflemen, well, they get fired on. Well, they throw themselves down on the ground, and if you lit on one of those, you got pretty well burnt. They'd roll off of them. And I know I just reached down one day and touched it, and it was hot. But it's sulfur, and you smell sulfur.
Well, you had quite an experience over there, just flying and...
Yeah. Well, we were what you call PB-4Y, Patrol Bombers, 4th Modification, made by consolidation. And we didn't call them B-24, we called them PB-4Ys.
Well, I probably made them there in Fort Worth.
Oh, yes. Although the one that we flew overseas with was made in San Diego. And it was all silver. They didn't even have any camouflage on it. Beautiful plane. And we was hoping that was going to be our plane. They took it away from us.
Well, after you got back, what did you do?
Well, just kind of ship's company there. We were at the same base we took off from when we went overseas. And, guys would be up training, and if you know radiomen, quite often they have a great big long aerial wire they let out with a lead fish on the end of it. Well, I had to go out and put a few of those on, because they'd land without rolling it back in, and just didn't do much of anything. And then I was getting ready to go on leave when they came to me and told me, you're getting discharged. And then I went home.
Went home, got married, and then what did you do?
I went to carpenter work for 5 years. And then I went to work for Wells Dairy Company with ice cream and milk. And I worked for them for 23 years. And then I took early retirement from them, and I went to driving truck. And I drove truck for quite a few different outfits. I hauled gravel, I hauled gasoline, anhydrous, propane, even hauled pizza, and I hauled a lot of furniture for about 11 years too. I was just a pinch hitter. Whoever needed somebody to drive, they'd call me and I'd go drive.
Well, you did pretty good. I really appreciate the story and the history. I think it's real good. I know there's some things left out, but we can't get them all, but your war history is just real good.
Oh, it was great.
And we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. No, that's just it.
So have you been to the museum?
No, just in the front entrance in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you want to go through the museum?
Sure, you bet. Because in this, down here, I've got some stuff in here, some pictures and that, I don't know. And my logbooks. If they're interested in my logbooks, they can have them.
Oh, they're interested.
And there is this T-shirt that belonged to Pete Chiavetta. When Pete passed away, his boys sent it to me.
Okay.
And it's in not good shape, but it's got Pete's name on it.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
And that they can have that.
That's I don't know where everybody is,
But Pete was one of the best co-pilots I ever thought there was.
Mm-hmm.
He really wanted to be a fighter pilot, But then he'd watch those guys up there practicing and chasing one another.
Well, didn't we all want to be something different than what
Yeah.
we were in?
But Pete always would look at him and he'd watch them and he says, well,
Come on,
ours,
that's all right.
ours is bigger, he would say. But he was a good navigator.
I always wanted to, well, I didn't always want to, I was on B-17, but I always thought B-25 would be where I need to be.
Okay.
And, but we can have that?
Yes.
I think
That's got all my flights in it.
Okay.
Every flight I ever took, and every pilot.
Well, that'd be real good history.
Yeah.
I mean, for research and stuff.
This was taken over Fort Worth, and that I got when they had the 50th anniversary for the making of the B-24. That particular plane was built in Fort Worth, and also the F-16.
Yeah, well, we remodeled this plane here.
Yeah.
This B-24 was damaged in an overseas shipment.
Okay.
So it became a transport.
Yes.
And then an oil company had it. And then we got it, and one of our men out here transformed it back into a bomber with the guns on it and stuff. He didn't have the bomb bays and that, but the guns and the turrets. And
There was a group in San Diego that had a plane for a while. I don't know what they had. But a plane, like you said, went to the oil companies. The ordnance man on our crew went to school, became an engineer, and he went to Alaska to help build the pumping station for the oil line.
Okay.
And he said he was in his line shack one day and he heard this plane go over and he knew it was a B-24. He ran outside and it was one of them flying over where he was at and all, up there and all.
yeah, they used them a lot.
Yeah, they said they were really good.
Because they were
That was good.
a longer flight airplane than a B-17.
Yeah, yeah,
The B-17 wasn't near as big as the 24.
Yeah.
this picture shows you a lot of
I
the,
meant to show you that map we have of the 509.
you probably got the same thing. But
No.
of course, here's Pearl Harbor and Johnston Island is in between. We flew to Johnston Island, refueled, and flew to Eniwetok. We left Eniwetok and we went to the Marianas. In the Marianas, we went up to Iwo and up to Japan. Down here is the Plow Islands where Bablethorpe was, where there was an Imperial Marines. We circled that for 2 weeks. But that was the part of the area that I was in. Of course, Wake was really attacked just shortly before I got out there. But and then this area here was where
It's all over the water, I noticed.
it's just water below. And they didn't have the navigating equipment.